Come on, stop tripping. Come on, stop tripping. Now that word tripping, everybody who's under 55 in here knows what that means. That's when you're making a big deal out of something. You're just all over yourself. Stop tripping, come on. Get over it, get a grip. And while I wasn't here, I'm sure it was read from Genesis 37, 23 to 28, and then 31 to 34, about the story of Joseph, where he gets roughed up. And I guess all of us are a little familiar with that story. But I think I would just tell you just a little something so you can see the picture and why we keep saying stop tripping. Now, what is actually happening is that Joseph comes from a blended family. And I think most of us know what a blended family is. You must have friends along the way where their mom and dad are in the second or third marriage, and they have children that they brought into the marriage. And so that's called a blended family. And things happen when things happen when the family is not blended, but when it's blended, it's a lot of work you have to put into it. So we find Joseph comes into the picture after his dad has 2 wives and 2 concubines, mind you. His first wife is Leah. That's the sister of the wife that he loved, but he couldn't marry her for a while. And you know that story. But anyway, Leah had her children. She had her 9 babies. Her 7 babies, sorry. And her assistant, which became his concubine, had 2. And then his second wife, who he loved dearly, Rachel, had 2, Joseph and his baby brother Benjamin. And her administrative assistant, which was her husband, concubine, had 2. So altogether, they had 13 children. It's a pretty big family. And the story begins when Joseph is 17 years old. So these siblings are like in their 20s and older. And they are jealous of Joseph because Joseph happens to be his father's favorite child. Joseph had nothing to do with that. In fact, Joseph had nothing to do with nothing. Come on, stop tripping. All the other, and we'll just say the guys, Diana, the sister, she couldn't have cared less. She already was the only girl. But the other fellas, the other 10, they were really bothered by the attention Joseph was getting. And I'm saying, why are you tripping over what's happening to Joseph? You don't know what's in the plan. And a lot of times we get jealous when we're looking at our siblings, our friends, and our neighbors, but we don't know the plan. We don't know why Ross might select one student out of his class over the other. Maybe he sees him as being a little weaker than the others and he wants to encourage him. Or maybe he's seeing that he's advanced and he wants to use him as an example. The students don't know. Stop tripping. They're like, why do they always choose Buffy? They didn't call on me. So here we have Joseph. He's his dad's favorite child because he's by his dad's favorite wife. And these wives and remarriages and that kind of thing has another subject on it, and I'll preach about that at another time. But any man that's got more than one wife got more than one problem. And if he has children by these multiple ladies, he's got some baby mama drama. And that's what's going on here, because you know that Leah has already told her 7, or well, at least her 6 boys, that you should be getting this attention. And this has been going on for years. Now, Joseph is 17, And he's real close to his dad. And one reason being is that his mother died after having his brother, Benjamin. So I think that's another reason why the father puts some special attention toward him. These guys aren't giving that a thought. They have their mom. They haven't given it a thought that Joseph's mother is not here anymore. So he has a special coat designed for him. Tailor fitted. And this coat has lots of colors and is indicative of royalty, power, and authority. And we still can't see the whole picture because we're not God. But the brothers are real bent about this. And then Joseph has a gift that the other fellows don't have. He has the gift of dreaming and interpreting dreams. We all dream, but we get up baffled if we remember them at all. We don't have a clue what they mean. We might call somebody and share it with somebody. Guess what I dreamed? What you think? But Joseph had the gift to dream and to interpret the dream. And he had a few dreams when he was younger. And he would tell his dreams. He'd wake up and say, guess what I dreamed? I dreamed you're going to be bowing down before me. Well, he might have been 12 then. And his brother's like, hey, let's stop tripping. You're dreaming. We're not going to bow down to you. We're older than you. Remember that. We were here before you. And as time progressed, he had another dream, and he shared it with his brothers and with his father. And his father even checked him on that. Hey, boy, stop tripping. You trying to say your mom and I are going to bow down? You mean all of us going to bow down to you? If you keep saying that, I'm going to put you on restriction. Now, this life has it. Joseph goes on hanging out with his dad. I guess they may play golf, go fishing. He spends time with his dad, bottom line. And I think they bond because he missed Rachel so much. That's the woman that he really loved. And nobody puts that in the equation. And so one day, Jacob the father asks Joseph to run an errand by going to check on the other sons who are out shepherding and bringing back a report, because those other sons were always mischievous, revengeful, spiteful, pranksters. They were just bad boys. And you really had to stay on them to keep them focused. And they didn't have cell phones, you know. So Jacob tells Joseph, go check on your brothers and bring me back a report. Joseph puts on his little cool jacket. Now this cool jacket, mind you, is equivalent to maybe having a Harley Davidson with a Harley Davidson jacket and a helmet, and the other ones are on bikes. It's kind of like that, if I could give an illustration as to how the brothers kind of saw it. But anyway, Joseph's skipping on his way to check out his brothers, following his father's instructions. And they see Joseph a ways off. And we can even be out maybe on a football field and we can see somebody on the other end of the field. Our vision is that sharp. And that's what people moving about. But they could see him at a good distance because, number one, what stood out? The jacket. Besides, they know his walk and his big head. You know, we know our siblings. And Joseph comes closer and closer. And the closer he comes, the more they begin to plot the devious, hideous concept of killing their brother. That's how enraged they were. Have you ever seen somebody be so enraged or even hear them say, I'm so mad I could kill him? If you've heard anybody say that, they mean it. Because it's in them to say it, it's in them to do it. It just hasn't happened yet. But I've heard people make that horrible statement. Oh, they make me so mad I could kill him. What a horrible thing to think, to do, and even worse, to speak. Stop tripping. Nothing's that big of a deal. And some people say, well, I was just expressing myself. I got carried away. Got carried away means tripping. Stop. Time. Don't do it. Consider. Think. Take deep breaths. So there is Joseph. He's coming. They're planning to kill him. The 10. And when he gets closer, I'm sure Joseph sensed danger. You ever walked up on a situation and you know, oh, either I'm going to have to make a quick move, get some backup. He doesn't have either one of these. And the guys are circling him like wolves. Their brother, same dad, different mothers. They're closing in on him. They're giving signs. You push him, you push him. And they gang bang him. They gang jump him. 10. Can you imagine 10 jumping you? They rough him up. Older brother Reuben said, oh, no, we don't want to kill him. That would be against the law. Let's just throw him here in this well over here. There's no water in it. And Reuben, the older brother, was intended, he probably was about 30. He was intended to come back and rescue Joseph. So they dump him in the hole, down into the well, down into the pit. And he's all bloodied up and everything. Face swollen, black eye. His brothers were kicking him, big time. And they sit down and have lunch. Can you believe that? They sit down and have lunch. Well, I guess it doesn't matter to somebody who likes to kill, because there was an incident a few years ago that someone shot several people and went and had a hamburger. So I guess that could happen. It happened according to the scriptures. They sat and had lunch, and lo and behold, a caravan comes up the way. And this bright idea comes up. Why don't we sell him and make some money? Cool. So they pull him up out of the hole and sell him as a slave. Can you imagine being sold by your brothers? Can you imagine being sold, period? They tossed him away for 20 shekels, 20 pieces of silver. And it was 10 of them, so I guess they got 2 pieces of silver apiece. Jesus was sold for 30 pieces of silver. That's how much it costs for someone his age, 33. Or in their 30s, they get 30 pieces of silver. In the case with Joseph, his value as a slave was 20 pieces of silver. The guys took their pieces of silver, and their 2 pieces of silver richer than they were when they first started out. And off they take Joseph. He finds himself in a container, in a van, on a wagon, or whatever it was, among strangers with different languages. And he's still hurting and aching from being whipped up. And he can't imagine where they're taking him. And his brothers are trying to think of a plot now to explain to their dad what has happened to Joseph. So another bright mind, and you can see how dysfunctional they are. This is a dysfunctional family. These sons are really tripping. I think they wake up with something evil to think of, to do. So they said, no, we have to tell Dad something because he's expecting Joey to come back with us. I know what we'll do. Let's kill that one of those sheep and wipe his fancy dancy coat in all this blood. And we'll take this back to Pop and tell him that a lion, tiger, and bear grabbed him. And that's what those airheads did. They took an animal that belonged to God, killed it, and put the coat all in the blood and ripped it a little bit. And they went home and they told their father, the father who had provided for them, who was sending them to school, who took care of them when they were sick, who took care of their mothers. They went back to that man in whose house they lived and told him, your favorite son is dead. And then Jacob, the father, said, you tripping. You got to be. He said, no. Here's his robe, soaked in blood. And Jacob responded just like any other father would respond if somebody walked to their door and said their son is dead. And those beanheads stood there as if nothing had happened. What's my point? Life is going to serve you some different kinds of platters as you continue on. You're young adults. You're going to have some serious decisions to make. And you're going to have to consider the consequences when you make it. And don't be so concerned about how others progress. Stay focused on your mission. And if you've never prayed before, I don't mean pray when you're having an exam. Oh, let me pass this test. Not that. But if you've never prayed to God before, I would encourage you to do that. Just find a space, a place, the bathroom, closet, walk out in the yard, ride your bike out to the park. Find a place where you can just talk to God. Because if you don't start talking to him now, you're going to run into situations that will be concerning you that really, and quite frankly, you have no control over. You don't pick your family. You can choose your friends. You hope to one day to have an education that meets your dream, whatever that might be, and that might keep changing. And you keep getting frustrated, and I don't know, because you have to call on God and ask him, what have you designed me to do, and who have you made me to be? Who am I? Have you ever asked God that question? Who am I? What part am I to play in society? Where am I going, and where are you taking me, and how can I get in line and make the right choices? Here we have 10 brothers, and they're so focused on one member of the family. Did they consider at all their dad? To come back and lie to Jacob in that manner? And the bottom line to the story is that Joseph did all right, and the dream that he had came to pass through him, and he became a leader of the nation in Egypt. All went well for him, but not right away. First of all, they kidnapped him. That was against the law. They trafficked him. That was against the law. He's sold a second time once he gets to Egypt. And then the one who sold him, wife comes checking him out. And he doesn't want the wife. He tries to get away from her. She puts him in jail. She charges him with rape. He serves years in prison. He's not just apprehended. And he gets a bond here. And he didn't get that. He got prison time. And God blessed him even in prison. And he had dreams there. But the bottom line is that we don't know. When we see Josephs in our lives, we don't know why they are the golden child, so to speak. And we'll be asking ourselves, why does she always get to do that? Why does he always get to do that? How did they get a scholarship? And I didn't get one. How did they get the privilege of going on the trip and it's paid for? And I have to pay for mine. And then the jealousy builds and builds if you don't get control of yourself. Anger builds and builds if you don't get control of yourself. I don't care where you come from, it's where you're going is most important. And this is for the young people. God says, come on, stop tripping. If you're asked to go to church, do it with honor and with thanksgiving. Thank you, God, that I can go. Thank you that somebody wants me to come. And I know sometimes you want to go where your peers are. I did. But I had to go to home church first. And then I could go with my peers to their church. Because when I went to home church, I'm supporting my family. I'm showing honor to them, to their traditions and their teachings. And then I bounce over to my friend's church. I got out of my church early when I was attending church. And then I was in my teens. We were out like clockwork. I had time to go to my other friend's church. My mother said, that's cool. If you got a friend that wants to go to church, you can go. And we were supervised. Parents were always in church with us, checking us out. Always. When somebody gives you an opportunity to serve, serve. Don't start tripping. Why I got to do that? Why don't you ask him to do it? Why don't you ask her to do it? Why do I have to? Why are you asking me? That's tripping. Stop tripping. Come on, stop tripping. This is Youth Sunday. And you're youth because of us. We make provision for you. Probably until you're about 22. We hope not 20, not 40, but we make provision. We help you along the way. But the bottom line, this is your life, and you'll have to answer to God. You will have to answer. Mama can't do it. Papa can't do it. You have to pray, and you have to ask God to tell you who you are, who has he made you to be, and what is our goal. God, where do you want me to go? And not worry about the Josephs in life, because there'll always be Joseph. There'll always be the golden girls and the golden guys, the leaders of the team, the stars. They'll always be there, but you don't know what they did to get there, and you don't know what they'll have to do to stay there. There's a place for you. Get on your platform and do an exceptional job. Be giving and be respectful. The Bible says if you want to live a long time, you don't have to exercise, and that's good. You don't have to take supplements, and that's good. But if you want to live a long time, it says, honor thy mother and thy father, that thy days may be long upon the earth. That applied to me, that applied to my mother's mother, and it applies to us today. This is Youth Sunday, and God says, come on, stop tripping. So when we look at that, Colossians has told us clearly that we are his chosen ones. If you haven't accepted that and haven't acknowledged that, today you should. Nobody else can do that for you. You have to admit that you are God's chosen one, that you're holy. That you're holy. That's an honorable thing. And don't be influenced by your peers, because peers are from dysfunctional families too. Find someone that you can trust that loves God. If you want a good friend, find one who loves God and ask them. Have you ever asked your friend, do you love the Lord? And watch what they say. If they're stumbling and fumbling, then help them to find the way. Because young people, I went to a funeral just yesterday, my cousin's funeral, and he's a biker. And the biker guys were coming to support. And they were all driving in front of the family. And one of them had an accident. He did not make it to the funeral. Some of the guys got off the bike to go and help him, but he had to be taken to the hospital. I'm saying that to say they're young graves, they're old graves. Please don't live without praying to God. And realize you belong to him more than you belong to your mom or your dad. You belong to God. He created you for his purpose. Ask him, who am I? And why have you allowed me to be alive? What is it that you want me to do? Lead me and show me the way. The word of God for the